The emptiness of space stretched in all directions as the Coalition research vessel Harmonious Dawn drifted through the border regions. Captain Tae Min stood on the bridge, his compound eyes scanning the holographic displays. The insectoid Vrelian had served the Galactic Coalition for 20 years, but he had never seen readings like this. "Captain, the energy signature is getting stronger," said the sensor operator. "Whatever it is, it's big." Taemin's mandibles clicked together in thought. The object appeared on their long-range scanners 3 hours ago. It wasn't moving. It wasn't transmitting. It simply existed in the void like a ghost ship from ancient stories. "Take us closer. Prepare the scanning team." Chief Scientist Ji Woo entered the bridge moments later. The Keltharian researcher was covered in soft gray fur, and her large eyes reflected the screen lights. She had studied hundreds of derelict vessels in her career, but something about this one felt different. "The material composition is strange," she said, examining the data. "It's mostly iron and steel alloys. Very dense. Very primitive by our standards." "Primitive?" Taemin turned to her. "But the energy readings suggest advanced reactor technology." "I know. It doesn't make sense. It's like someone built a house from stone but powered it with a star." The Harmonious Dawn approached slowly. Through the viewports, they finally saw it. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of their research ship. Its hull was dark gray, scarred with what looked like impact craters and burn marks. Unlike the smooth, elegant curves of Coalition ships, this vessel was angular and brutal. It looked like a weapon. "I'm reading no life signs," the sensor operator reported. "The ship appears abandoned." Tae Min made his decision. "Prepare a boarding team. Jiwoo, you're with me. Let's find out what this thing is." The boarding pod crossed the distance in silence. 6 members of the team floated through space toward the mysterious vessel. They found an airlock near the ship's midsection. The door was closed but unpowered. "Using manual override," said one of the engineers. The airlock groaned and slowly opened. Atmosphere hissed out briefly before equalizing. Inside, the team activated their lights. The corridor was dark and cold. Everything was metal and sharp angles. There was no decoration, no art, nothing but function. Pipes and cables ran along the walls without any attempt to hide them. "Look at this," Jiwoo said, touching the wall. "This is armor plating. The entire interior is armored. Why would anyone need this much protection inside their own ship?" They moved deeper into the vessel. The corridors were narrow compared to Coalition standards. Everything felt cramped and efficient. They passed rooms filled with equipment they didn't recognize, storage areas packed with what looked like ammunition. Lots of ammunition. "Captain, you need to see this," called one of the team members from ahead. They entered what was clearly the ship's bridge. It was small and crowded with stations. Multiple screens were dark, but some emergency systems still had power. The most striking feature was the command chair. It faced a large viewport, and on both armrests were weapon controls. "They built weapons into the captain's chair," Taemin said slowly. "This ship was designed for combat from the beginning." Jiwoo was examining one of the computer terminals. "I'm pulling data from the ship's memory banks. Let me see if I can access their language files." Her clawed fingers worked across a portable terminal she had connected to the alien ship systems. Symbols and characters flickered across her screen. "Their written language uses alphabetic characters, simple but efficient. I'm getting a translation matrix started." She paused, her eyes widening. "Captain, I found the ship's designation. It's called UNSC Defiant. UNSC stands for United Nations Space Command." "United Nations?" Taemin repeated. "What nation would unite to form something like this?" "Not a nation. Nations, plural. It seems this species unified their entire planet under one governing body for space exploration and defense." "Defense against what?" Jiwoo continued working, pulling more data. "I'm finding combat logs, tactical databases, crew manifests. Captain, this isn't a research vessel or a cargo ship. This is a warship, a dedicated military vessel." The team continued their exploration. They found the weapons bay next. Rows of missiles lined the walls, each one larger than a Coalition scout ship. The main cannon's ammunition was stored in a separate magazine. Each round was a solid metal slug the size of a person. These are kinetic weapons, Jiwoo explained, scanning one of the projectiles. They accelerate these slugs to incredible speeds and just shoot them at their targets. No energy weapons at all, just raw mass and velocity. How primitive, muttered one of the other team members. Primitive, yes. But look at the impact calculations in the targeting computer. One of these rounds could punch through a coalition cruiser's shields and hull in a single shot. The physics don't lie. They discovered the medical bay next, and it disturbed them more than the weapons. The facility was extensive, taking up an entire deck of the ship. There were operating tables, surgical equipment, and rows of beds. They expect casualties, Taemin said quietly. They built their warship expecting their crew to be wounded, to bleed. Jiwoo examined the medical supplies. Blood transfusion equipment, stimulant injectors, prosthetic limb fabricators, psychological counseling rooms. Captain, this species goes to war knowing they'll be hurt, and they go anyway. The final discovery came in the crew quarters. Unlike the rest of the ship, these areas had personal touches, photographs attached to walls, small items from home. One room had a musical instrument mounted above the bed, another had children's drawings. They live here, Jiwoo said softly. They don't just serve on this ship. They make it their home. They bring pieces of their families into the darkness with them. Taemin picked up a photograph. It showed a creature standing upright on two legs, smooth skin, bilateral symmetry, forward-facing eyes. The creature was smiling, holding two smaller versions of itself. A family. These are humans, Jiwoo said, looking at the image. That's what they call themselves. According to the ship's database, they're from a planet called Earth. Where is Earth? Is it in coalition space? No. According to these star charts, it's beyond the outer rim, far beyond any region we've explored. Captain, humans have been out here alone. They've never encountered the coalition. They've never encountered any of our species. Then who were they fighting? Jiwoo's face went pale as she read from her terminal. The logs mention an enemy. They call them the Devourers. Machine intelligence. World consumers. Captain, the humans have been at war for 37 years. And from what I'm reading, they're losing. Taemin looked around the dead ship. At the weapons. At the armor. At the blood-stained medical bay. At the photographs of smiling families. He understood now. This vessel wasn't built by a warrior species that loved conflict. It was built by a species that learned to fight because they had no choice. Gather everything you can, he ordered. Every data file, every piece of technology, every scrap of information. The Coalition Council needs to know about this. They need to know about the humans. As the team worked, Taemin returned to the bridge. He sat in the command chair, feeling the weapon controls under his hands. He looked out at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, humans were fighting and dying against an enemy that consumed worlds. They had been alone in the darkness, building ships like this out of desperation and determination. They had transformed themselves into warriors, not because they wanted to, but because they had to survive. The captain of the Harmonious Dawn made a decision then. The Coalition would help these humans. They would find Earth. They would offer alliance. But first, they needed to understand what they were dealing with. They needed to analyze this ship. They needed to learn how humans waged war. They were not prepared for what they would discover. Coalition Science Station Epsilon floated in orbit around a gas giant, far from any populated worlds. It was here that sensitive research took place. It was here that Jiwoo brought the human warship. The UNSC Defiant now sat in the station's largest docking bay, surrounded by scanning equipment and research teams. Jiwoo had assembled the Coalition's best minds to study this mysterious vessel. Every species in the Coalition sent their experts. Hyunwoo arrived first. The crystalline being's body refracted light into rainbow patterns as he moved. His species were living computers, able to process information faster than any artificial intelligence. If anyone could understand the human ship systems, it was him. Fascinating architecture, Hyunwoo said, his voice like wind chimes. Their computer systems are quantum-based but arranged in such inefficient patterns. Yet somehow they work beautifully. So Jin came next, her Avarian wings folded against her back. She was young for a weapons analyst, barely into her third decade, but her talent was undeniable. She had studied every known weapon system in the galaxy. She had never seen anything like what the humans built. "I don't understand," Sojin said, examining the main cannon. "This weapon has no energy emitters, no plasma conduits. It's just a tube. A very long, very reinforced tube. It's called a railgun," Jiwoo explained. "They use electromagnetic acceleration to launch solid projectiles at extreme velocities. It's ancient technology. We stopped using kinetic weapons thousands of years ago. But why? Energy weapons are more efficient. Watch this." Jiwoo activated a simulation she had built. It showed the human railgun firing at a coalition cruiser. The solid slug punched through the shields as if they weren't there. It tore through the hull. It kept going through 3 more ships behind it. Sojin's feathers stood on end. That's impossible. Shields should stop any physical projectile. Should, yes. But human projectiles are traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. At that velocity, matter becomes its own kind of energy weapon. The shields can't dissipate the kinetic force fast enough. Over the following weeks, the research team discovered more disturbing facts about human military technology. The ship had no shield generators at all. Instead, the humans built layers and layers of armor. When Jiwoo calculated the total mass of protective plating, she realized the armor alone weighed more than an entire coalition destroyer. "This is insane," Sojin said. "The amount of fuel needed to move this much mass must be enormous." "It is. But humans don't use antimatter reactors like we do. They use fusion reactors. Less efficient, more massive, but incredibly reliable. Their reactor can't be disabled by electromagnetic pulses or quantum disruption. You have to physically destroy it." Hyunwoo spent his time diving into the ship's tactical systems. What he found disturbed him deeply. Human combat doctrine was built on principles that the Coalition had abandoned millennia ago. "Listen to this," Hyunwoo said, projecting a tactical manual he had translated. "Human Naval Doctrine, Section 7, Acceptable Losses. It describes how human commanders calculate how many ships they can afford to lose in battle to achieve objectives." "Acceptable losses?" Jiwoo repeated. "The Coalition hasn't accepted any losses in combat for 300 years. We retreat if casualties become probable. Humans don't retreat. Look at this." He displayed another document. "They have medals. Awards given to crews who continue fighting even after their ship is crippled. They honor those who refuse to surrender." The research team gathered around as Hyunwoo showed them more human military concepts. Ramming tactics where a damaged ship would deliberately crash into an enemy vessel. Boarding actions where humans would cut through enemy hulls and fight inside hostile ships. Self-destruct protocols where crews would destroy their own vessels rather than allow capture. "This is barbaric," said one of the researchers, a peaceful Luminar diplomat. "These humans are savages, are they?" Jiwoo asked quietly. She had been studying the crew quarters again. "Look at this." She projected images of the human living spaces. Letters written to families back home. Journals describing the beauty of distant stars. Art created during long voyages. Music recorded in the ship's small entertainment room. These people weren't savages. They were scientists, engineers, parents, artists. They liked music and kept photographs of their loved ones. They were just like us. "Then why build weapons like this?" Sojin asked. "Because of what they were fighting." Jiwoo activated the Defiance combat logs. The holographic display showed the ship's final battle. The human warship faced 4 enemy vessels. The enemies were different from anything in Coalition records. Sleek black ships that moved with mechanical precision. "These are the Devourers," Jiwoo explained. "Machine intelligence. According to human records, the Devourers don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They consume. They find inhabited planets and strip them of all resources, all life, everything." The team watched as the battle unfolded. The Defiant fought with desperate fury. Its railguns tore through Devourer hulls. Its missiles exploded in brilliant flashes. But the enemy was relentless. One by one, the Devourer ships fell, but not before crippling the human warship. "The final log entry," Hyunwoo said, his voice somber. "Captain's log, final entry. We've destroyed 4 enemy vessels but sustained critical damage. Main reactor offline. Hull breaches on all decks. I've ordered the crew to abandon ship. We'll set the Defiant to drift as a decoy while our people escape in the pods. If anyone finds this ship, Know that we fought to our last breath. Know that Earth still stands. Know that humanity does not surrender." Captain Park signing off, the recording ended. The research bay was silent, so Jin spoke first. "How long have they been fighting?" 37 years, Jiwoo answered. The Devourers appeared in human space without warning. They consumed the first 3 colony worlds before humanity even understood what they were facing. "The humans have been fighting ever since. Are they winning?" Jiwoo hesitated. "No. According to the Defiance strategic database, the humans have lost 17 colony worlds. Their population has been reduced by half. They're running out of ships, resources, and time. The projections estimate 5 years before Earth falls." Hyunwoo processed this information. "That explains the weapons, the armor, the tactics. They're not fighting for territory or resources. They're fighting for survival. They learned to wage total war because anything less means extinction." The research team continued their work with new understanding. They analyzed the human medical systems and realized the advanced trauma care was necessary because human crews couldn't be quickly replaced. Each person was valuable, each life worth fighting for. They studied the ship's life support and found it could sustain the crew for years on minimal resources. Humans had learned to endure long deployments far from home because they had no choice. Someone had to patrol the darkness between stars watching for the Devourers. So Jin examined the missile warheads and discovered nuclear weapons, primitive atomic devices that released massive amounts of destructive energy. The Coalition had banned such weapons centuries ago as too dangerous and indiscriminate. But effective, so Jin admitted reluctantly. Against Devourer swarms, these weapons could clear entire formations. The radiation wouldn't affect machines the way it affects organic life. "The humans adapted," Jiwoo said. "They looked at their enemy and built weapons specifically to destroy them. When energy weapons proved ineffective, they went back to kinetics. When shields couldn't stop Devourer boarding drones, they built armor. When their reactor technology couldn't match ours, they made fusion plants so robust that they almost never fail." Hyunwoo had been quiet, processing vast amounts of data. Finally, he spoke. "I've analyzed their tactical AI. It's learning software. Every battle, every encounter, it studies and adapts. The Defiance AI had records of over 8,000 engagements with Devourer forces. 8,000 battles. And each time it learned new tactics. 8,000 battles? The Luminar diplomat was shocked. The entire Coalition fleet hasn't fought 8,000 battles in its entire existence. Exactly. These humans have been forged in fire. They've learned lessons about warfare that the Coalition forgot millennia ago. Or perhaps never knew at all. Jiwoo compiled all their findings into a report for the Coalition Council. As she worked late one night, she found herself looking at a photograph from one of the crew quarters. It showed a human family, 2 adults and 3 small humans. They were smiling at the beach, waves behind them, sun shining. One of the adults in that photograph had served on the Defiant. That person had left their family to fight in the darkness, to face the Devourers, to give their children a chance at the future shown in that photograph. "They're not so different from us," Jiwoo whispered to the empty lab. "They just know something we forgot. Sometimes survival requires sacrifice. Sometimes you have to become the monster to fight monsters." She finished her report and sent it to the Coalition Council. In it, she recommended immediate diplomatic contact with humanity, an offer of alliance, a sharing of technology and resources, but she also included a warning. If the Coalition ignored humanity's plight, if they let the humans fall to the Devourers, they would be next. The Devourers wouldn't stop at human space. They would keep consuming, keep expanding, and when the Coalition Security Council chamber was a marvel of architecture. Representatives from 43 species gathered in the circular room, each delegation seated at stations designed for their specific biology. Today the chamber was packed. Word of the human warship had spread through Coalition space like wildfire. Captain Taemin stood at the center podium, his exoskeleton gleaming under the lights. Beside him, Jiwoo prepared her presentation. They had 3 hours to convince the council that humanity deserved their attention, that humans deserved their help. Counselor Jae-hee of the Luminar spoke first. Her species glowed with soft bioluminescence, pulsing with her emotions. Right now she pulsed with concern. "Captain Taemin, your report describes a species that has been waging constant warfare for nearly 4 decades. A species that builds weapons of mass destruction and considers casualties acceptable. Why should the Coalition involve itself with such violent beings?" Taemin had expected this question. Counselor, with respect, the humans are not violent by nature. They are survivors. There is a difference. Explain. Jiwoo activated the holographic display. An image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. It was a beautiful world. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful. This is humanity's home, Jiwoo began. Earth, population 12 billion before the war. Now approximately 6 billion. The humans evolved as a social species. They built civilizations. They created art, music, literature. They were not warriors. Were not. Counselor Dong-hyun of the Saurian hegemony leaned forward. His reptilian features showed interest. His species understood warfare better than most. What changed them? The display shifted, showing a black ship emerging from a wormhole. The Devourer vessel moved with mechanical perfection, cold and efficient. 37 years ago, this appeared in human space. The humans tried communication. They tried negotiation. They tried everything the Coalition would have tried. Jiwoo paused. The Devourers didn't respond. They simply began consuming. The hologram showed a human colony world, green and thriving one moment. The next, Devourer machines descended like locusts. Within weeks, the planet was gray and dead. Every resource stripped. Every living thing gone. Lifeless. 3 colony worlds fell before humanity understood what they faced. 1 billion people dead. The humans had no military fleet. No weapons designed for space warfare. They had exploration vessels and mining ships. They were completely unprepared. Taemin continued the briefing. The humans did what any species would do when faced with extinction. They adapted. They built warships. They developed weapons. They learned to fight. They learned too well, Jae-hee said softly. Your report describes tactics that violate the Coalition's rules of engagement. Ramming maneuvers. Self-destruct protocols. Nuclear weapons. Yes, because traditional tactics don't work against the Devourers. The humans tried energy weapons. Useless against Devourer armor. They tried hacking enemy systems. The Devourer AI is too advanced. They tried conventional warfare. They lost every battle. So they became unconventional, Dong-hyun observed. They adapted their tactics to their enemy. Exactly. The humans realized they couldn't match Devourer technology. So they stopped trying. They went back to basics. Kinetic weapons that can't be defended against with conventional shields. Armor that doesn't rely on power systems. Fusion reactors that are nearly impossible to disable. They built ships that could take punishment and keep fighting. Hyunwoo stepped forward, his crystalline body refracting the hologram's light. Counselors, I've analyzed the human tactical database. It contains detailed records of 8,000 separate engagements with Devourer forces. The humans have been learning, adapting. Every battle teaches them something new. 8,000 battles. Another counselor whispered. How many people have they lost? The Defiance records indicate approximately 4 billion human casualties over 37 years. Military and civilian combined. The chamber fell silent. 4 billion dead. The number was staggering. The entire coalition had lost fewer than 10,000 people to all causes in the last century. They've sacrificed half their species, Jae-hee said, her glow dimming with sorrow. And they continue fighting? They have no choice, counselor. The Devourers don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They don't stop. They consume everything and move on. For humanity, it's fight or face complete extinction. Jiwoo changed the display again. This time it showed star charts. Human space was marked in blue. Red indicators showed Devourer-controlled territories. The red was spreading, system by system, toward Earth. According to human strategic projections, Earth has approximately 5 years before Devourer forces arrive in their home system. They're running out of time, out of ships, out of resources, out of people. Then they're already lost, said one of the counselors, a member of the Merchant Guild. Why should we risk coalition lives for a species that's doomed anyway? Because we're next. Every head turned toward the young counselor who spoke. Minna had only joined the council 6 months ago, representing her species' recent admission to the coalition. She stood now, her voice steady despite her youth. The Devourers won't stop at human space. They'll keep expanding, keep consuming. Eventually, they'll reach coalition territory. And when they do, what will we do? We haven't fought a real war in centuries. We've forgotten how. We have superior technology, Dong-hyun argued. Our shields, our energy weapons, Our artificial intelligence systems are far more advanced than anything the humans possess. The humans thought their technology was advanced too, Minna countered. Before they met the Devourers. How long do you think our shields will hold? How effective will our energy weapons be? The humans have been fighting the Devourers for 37 years. They know how these machines think, how they fight, what works and what doesn't. They've learned lessons we haven't even imagined yet. Taemin saw his opening. Counselors, we're not asking you to fight humanity's war for them. We're proposing an alliance, a mutual exchange. We give the humans access to our shield technology, our advanced power systems, our medical knowledge. In return, they teach us their combat tactics. They share their weapons designs. They help us prepare for the day when the Devourers reach our space. And that day will come, Jiwoo added. The Devourers have consumed 17 human worlds in 37 years. At that rate, they'll reach the Outer Coalition territories in less than 20 years. We can either prepare now with humanity's help, or we can wait and face the same fate they did. Unprepared, alone, dying. Yunwoo projected a final set of images. Combat footage from the Defiant's last battle. The human warship fought with desperate courage against overwhelming odds. It took massive damage but kept firing. Kept fighting. Even as systems failed and the hull breached, the humans didn't surrender. They destroyed 4 enemy ships before their reactor went critical. These humans don't know the meaning of surrender. Hyunwoo said quietly. They've been fighting alone in the darkness for decades. They've never asked for help because they never knew we existed. But now we know about them. We know what they're facing. We have a choice to make. Jae-hee spoke again, her voice troubled. If we make contact with humanity, if we offer alliance, we're committing to their war. We're accepting that the coalition might have to fight, that our people might die, that our perfect peace might end. Our perfect peace is an illusion, Minna said bluntly. The Devourers are coming whether we acknowledge them or not. The humans didn't choose this war. It chose them. The only question is whether we'll stand with them or wait for our turn to face extinction alone. Dong-hyun stood. His scales reflected the chamber lights as he addressed the council. My species remembers war. Long ago, before we joined the coalition, we fought for survival. We understand what the humans are experiencing. I vote yes. Send an expedition to human space. Offer them alliance, I agree, Minna said immediately. We can't abandon an entire species to genocide, especially when helping them helps us prepare for the future. The vote began. One by one, counselors voiced their decisions. Some voted yes, moved by compassion for humanity's plight. Others voted yes out of strategic necessity, recognizing the threat the Devourers pose to all species. A few voted no, unwilling to risk coalition peace for strangers. When the count finished, the result was clear. 28 in favor, 15 opposed. The motion passed. Jae-hee dimmed her glow, a sign of acceptance among her people. The council has decided. Captain Taemin, you will lead a diplomatic expedition to human space. Chief Scientist Jiwoo will accompany you as science advisor, make contact with humanity, assess their situation, and if appropriate, offer them membership in the Galactic Coalition. Taemin bowed. Thank you, counselors. We won't fail. As the chamber emptied, Jiwoo stood beside Taemin at the podium. They looked at the star chart still displayed in the hologram. Human space glowed blue, small and isolated. The red of Devourer territory pressed against it like a tide. Do you think we can help them? Jiwoo asked. I don't know, but we have to try. Those humans have been fighting alone for so long. They deserve to know they're not the only life in the galaxy, that someone else cares if they survive. The Council is taking a huge risk. If the Devourers are as dangerous as the human records suggest, we might be. The Coalition expedition dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Haven system. Captain Taemin immediately knew something was wrong. The sensors screamed with contact alerts. Energy signatures, weapons fire, battle, multiple contacts, the sensor operator reported. 3 unknown vessels in orbit around the colony world. They matched the profiles from the Defiance database, Devourers, and the human forces. 5 human warships engaging. They're heavily outnumbered. Jiwoo rushed to Taemin's side on the bridge. Through the viewports, they could see flashes of light as weapons fired. The battle was already underway and it looked desperate. Captain, what do we do? Asked the weapons officer. Our mission was diplomatic contact, not military intervention. Taemin watched as a human destroyer took a direct hit. Its hull split open, atmosphere venting into space. But the ship didn't retreat. It turned toward the Devourer vessel that hit it and accelerated, firing its railguns until the last moment. "Those people are dying," Taman said. "We came here to help humanity, so let's help. All ships, battle formation. Target the Devourer vessels. Fire at will." The Coalition fleet moved with practiced precision, 6 ships against 3 Devourers. The odds were better now. Coalition energy weapons lanced out, striking Devourer shields. The enemy ships immediately changed tactics, turning to face this new threat. "They're adapting already," Jiwoo observed. "Their shields are modulating to our weapon frequencies. Then we adapt too. Weapons rotate through all frequency ranges. Don't give them time to adjust." The battle evolved into controlled chaos. Coalition ships used their superior maneuverability to stay mobile, firing from different angles. The human warships pressed their attack with renewed fury, their kinetic weapons punching through Devourer armor where shields failed. A human cruiser, badly damaged, made a close pass by Taemin's flagship. For a moment he could see into the human ship's bridge through a hull breach. Figures in pressure suits worked frantically at damaged stations. They didn't retreat even though their ship was dying. "Incoming transmission from the human fleet," communications reported. "Audio only. Their translation algorithms are working. Put it through." A voice filled the bridge. It was harsh, tired, but carried absolute authority. "Unknown vessels, this is Fleet Admiral Sung-ho of the United Nations Space Command. Appreciate the assist. Focus fire on the left flank Devourer. Its shields are weak." Taemin responded immediately. "This is Captain Taemin of the Galactic Coalition. Acknowledged. All ships concentrate fire." The combined fleet hammered the weakened Devourer. Coalition energy weapons wore down its shields while human railgun slugs punched through the exposed hull. The Devourer ship broke apart in a silent explosion. The remaining 2 Devourer vessels suddenly changed behavior. Instead of continuing the fight, they turned and accelerated away at impossible speeds. Within seconds, they vanished into faster-than-light travel. "They retreated," Jiwoo said in disbelief. "I've never seen Devourers retreat." "They adapt," Taemin reminded her. "The humans have been saying that for years. When faced with superior force, the Devourers recalculate and withdraw. They don't throw away resources on lost battles." The sensor operator interrupted. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the human fleet. They're requesting we follow them to the colony for formal contact. Set course, and someone get me a translation of human greeting protocols. I don't want our first official meeting to be an insult by accident." New Haven was a young colony world, barely 20 years old according to the data Jiwoo accessed. 3 million people called it home. As the Coalition ships descended toward the main settlement, they could see the scars of war. Defensive installations ringed the colony. Agricultural zones showed cratering from orbital bombardment. This was a people under siege. The landing zone was a military facility. Human soldiers in combat armor watched as the Coalition delegation disembarked. Taemin led the team, with Jiwoo beside him and a small honor guard behind them. A human walked forward to meet them. He was tall by Coalition standards, wearing a dark blue uniform with insignia marking his rank. His face showed age and exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp and calculating. "Captain Taemin, I presume?" The human extended his hand in what Jiwoo's database identified as a greeting gesture. Taemin carefully mimicked the motion, grasping the human's hand. "Fleet Admiral Sung-ho. Thank you for allowing us to land. Thank you for saving our asses up there. We were about 10 minutes from losing another ship when you showed up." Sung-ho gestured toward a nearby building. "Come on. The governor wants to meet you and we've got a lot to talk about." The command center was underground, protected by layers of armor and shielding. Inside, humans worked at dozens of stations, coordinating planetary defense and fleet movements. Everything was efficient and military. Governor He-jin was waiting in a conference room. She was younger than the admiral, but carried the same weight of responsibility. She greeted the Coalition delegation with cautious optimism. "Welcome to New Haven," she said. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. Please sit. We've arranged seating that should accommodate your different biologies." As they settled, Sung-ho activated a holographic display. It showed the tactical situation for human space. Red zones indicated Devourer-controlled systems. Blue zones were human territory. The red was overwhelming. "This is what we're facing," Sung-ho explained without preamble. "The Devourers have consumed 17 of our colonies. Earth's outer defense fleets are engaged in constant skirmishes. We're losing ground every day. We've been fighting for 37 years and we're running out of everything: ships, fuel, ammunition, people. We found one of your warships, Jiwoo said. The Defiant. We've been studying it. The Defiant? Heejin leaned forward. We lost contact with her 9 months ago. We assumed she was destroyed. Her crew evacuated. The ship was damaged but intact. We've learned much from her systems and records. Seung-ho nodded slowly. Then you know what we're up against. You know what the Devourers do to inhabited worlds. We do. That's why we're here. The Galactic Coalition would like to offer humanity an alliance. The silence that followed was profound. Hyejin and Seung-ho exchanged glances. Finally, the governor spoke. You're not just offering aid. You're offering membership in your coalition? Yes, we've analyzed your technology, your tactics, your entire situation. The Coalition Council believes that humanity would be a valuable member, and that you desperately need help. What would this alliance involve? Seung-ho asked carefully. Taemin outlined the proposal. Technology exchange. We provide you with our shield generators, advanced power systems, medical technology. In return, you share your weapons designs, your tactical knowledge, your experience fighting the Devourers. You want to learn how to fight from us? Heejin seemed surprised. Your technology is clearly superior to ours. Technology isn't everything, Jiwoo said. You've been fighting the Devourers for decades. You know how they think, how they adapt, what works against them. The Coalition hasn't fought a major war in centuries. We've forgotten those lessons. You can teach us. Seung-ho stood and walked to the window. Outside, the colony sprawled under alien stars. For 37 years, we've been alone. We thought we were the only intelligent life in the galaxy. We built ships and weapons and learned to fight because we had no choice. No one was coming to save us. He turned back to the delegation. And now you're here, offering help. Offering hope. Do you understand what that means to us? I think I do, Taemin said quietly. The negotiation continued for hours. Details were discussed. Technology specifications were shared. Jiwoo and human engineer Kyung-soo bonded over discussing the integration of coalition shields with human ship designs. So-jin compared weapons data with human military scientists. During a break, Hyejin invited the coalition delegation to share a meal. The humans had prepared food for their guests, carefully researched to match each species' dietary needs. As they ate, the conversation became less formal. Hyejin talked about life on New Haven before the war. Seung-ho shared stories about Earth, humanity's home. Jiwoo found herself fascinated by human culture. Their music, their art, their philosophy. Why do you call it Earth? She asked. Most species name their homeworld something more poetic. Earth just means dirt, Hyejin explained with a smile. We're a practical people. Our planet is made of Earth, so we called it Earth. And yet you fight so hard for it, Taemin observed. Seung-ho's expression turned serious. Because it's home. Because our families are there. Because every human alive can trace their ancestry back to that one small world. We didn't choose to spread across the stars because we wanted to conquer. We did it because humans are curious. We wanted to see what was out there. And you found the Devourers, Jiwoo said softly. Yes. We found out that the universe isn't empty, that other intelligences exist, and that some of them want to destroy us. Seung-ho met each of their eyes. We don't like war. We don't enjoy killing. But we learned that sometimes survival requires becoming what you must. We transformed ourselves into warriors because the alternative was extinction. That's why the Coalition wants to help you, Taemin said. Because you're not monsters. You're survivors. You did what any species would do. 72 hours became a countdown to survival or annihilation. The command center transformed into a hive of desperate activity. Humans and Coalition personnel worked side by side, preparing for the impossible. Taemin stood at the tactical display with Seung-ho, watching the Devourer fleet approach. 64 ships, against their combined force of 11 human warships and 6 Coalition vessels. The mathematics of the situation were brutal. You don't have to do this, Seung-ho said quietly. Your people didn't sign up for a suicide mission. Neither did yours, Taemin replied. But here you are. Here you've been for 37 years, fighting, dying, never surrendering. The Coalition talks about unity and cooperation. It's time we prove those aren't just words. Jiwoo and Kyung-soo worked in the engineering bay, surrounded by holographic blueprints and technical specifications. The human engineer was in his 50s, gray-haired and tired, but his mind was sharp as he absorbed coalition shield technology. "This is incredible," Kyung-soo said, studying the shield generator designs. "We've been trying to develop working deflector shields for years." "You've had this technology for how long?" "Millennia. But it won't do much good against the Devourers unless we adapt it." Jiwoo pulled up combat data from the earlier battle. Their weapons modulate specifically to break through standard shields. "We need to randomize the frequency patterns." "Randomize? That'll drain power like crazy. Better than being defenseless. Can you integrate these generators into your ships in 72 hours? Kyung-soo grinned tiredly. "Watch me." Teams of engineers, human and alien working together, began the impossible task of retrofitting human warships with coalition shields. It was crude work, rushing what should take months into mere hours. But it was working. Hyunwoo worked in the data center, interfacing directly with human tactical computers. His crystalline body pulsed with light as he processed vast amounts of information. "Your AI is remarkable," he told the human programmers assisting him. "It learns so quickly, adapts to new situations." "We built it to fight the Devourers," one of the programmers explained. "Every battle teaches it something new. After 8,000 engagements, it's gotten pretty good at war. Can it learn coalition tactics? Show me what you've got and we'll teach it." The AI absorbed coalition combat doctrine in hours. Fleet formations, energy weapon tactics, coordinated shield management. It processed everything and began creating hybrid strategies, combining human aggression with coalition precision. So Jin found herself in the weapons bay with human military engineers. They were examining her analysis of Devourer vessel construction, looking for weaknesses. "Here," Sojin pointed at a structural diagram. "This junction point. It's where their power distribution network converges. Hit it hard enough and you cascade failure through their entire system." "How hard is hard enough?" one of the engineers asked. "For kinetic weapons? Approximately 0.85 light speed impact. Your railguns can achieve that, not easily. That velocity requires massive power draw. We'd get maybe 3 shots before the capacitors need recharging. Then make those 3 shots count." The human grinned. "I like how you think." On the surface, evacuation continued at frantic pace. Transports lifted off constantly, carrying civilians to orbital stations where larger ships waited. 3 million people, families, children, the old and young. They filed onto ships in orderly lines, the discipline of people who had lived under threat for too long. Yejin coordinated the evacuation from the command center. She watched the numbers tick upward. 500,000 evacuated, 1 million, 1.5 million. But time was running out. "We won't get everyone out," she said to Taemin. "Not in 72 hours. Then we buy more time. We hold them at the outer system. Give the transports a chance to escape." "You're talking about a delaying action, a sacrifice play. I'm talking about doing whatever it takes to save as many lives as possible." Heejin looked at this alien captain, this insectoid being who barely came up to her shoulder. "You really mean it, don't you? You're willing to die for people you just met. We're willing to fight for what's right. Isn't that what humanity has been doing all along?" As the countdown reached 24 hours, Seung-ho assembled all ship captains for a final briefing. The command center was crowded with humans and coalition officers standing shoulder to shoulder. "You all know the situation," Seung-ho began without preamble. "In 24 hours, 64 Devourer vessels will enter this system. Their objective is the Harvester. That ship reaches New Haven, and everyone still on the surface dies. Our job is simple. Keep that Harvester away from this planet for as long as possible." He activated the tactical display. "We'll engage them here at the outer asteroid belt. Use the terrain. Hit and run. The coalition ships will provide shield support and energy weapons. Human vessels focus kinetic strikes on priority targets. First priority is the Harvester. Second priority is their carrier ships. Third is everything else." "Admiral," one of the human captains spoke up, "those odds are 6 to 1. We'll be lucky if any of us make it through." "I know, but every minute we buy is another 1,000 civilians on transports. Every Devourer ship we destroy is one less threat to Earth. This isn't about winning. This is about making them pay for every meter of space, making them remember that humans don't surrender." Taemin stepped forward, "and that the coalition stands with humanity. Whatever happens in the next 24 hours, know that you don't fight alone anymore." The briefing ended. Captains returned to their ships. Final preparations were made. Weapons loaded, shields calibrated. Crews said quiet goodbyes to families they might never see again. Kyung-soo found Jiwoo in the engineering bay, running final checks on the shield generators they'd installed. "Think this'll work?" he asked, honestly. "I have no idea. We're combining technologies that were never designed to work together. It could function perfectly or explode spectacularly." "That's comforting." Jiwoo turned to face him. "Your people have been improvising for 37 years. You've taken primitive technology and turned it into weapons that can kill the unkillable. If anyone can make this work, it's humans. We're not as special as you think. We're just doing what we have to. That's what makes you special. You don't give up. You adapt. You survive." The final hours passed too quickly. Ships took position at the outer system. Human warships settled into the asteroid belt, using the massive rocks for cover. Coalition vessels formed a mobile reserve, ready to reinforce wherever the line was weakest. On the bridge of his flagship, Taemin watched the countdown reach 0. Then the sensors lit up, 64 contacts. The Devourer fleet had arrived. The enemy ships were sleek and black, moving with mechanical precision. At their center, the Harvester drifted forward. It was massive, 10 times the size of the largest human battleship. Its hull was covered with mining equipment and industrial machinery. A planet killer in physical form. "All ships," Sung-ho's voice came over the fleet channel. "This is it. For New Haven, for humanity. For everyone we've lost and everyone we're trying to save. Make them regret coming here. For the Coalition," Taemin added. "For our new allies. For showing the galaxy what we stand for. Fire at will." The battle began with a storm of weapons fire. Human railguns lanced out from the asteroid belt, solid slugs crossing the distance at incredible speeds. Coalition energy weapons painted the darkness with brilliant colors. The Devourers returned fire with their own advanced weaponry. The first human destroyer died within minutes, its shields overwhelmed and hull split open. But it took 3 Devourer frigates with it, its nuclear missiles detonating in a cascade of destruction. "Shields holding," Jiwoo reported from the engineering station. "The randomized frequencies are working. They can't adapt fast enough. Keep it up. Weapons target their carrier ships. If we can thin out their fighter support, we improve our odds." The battle evolved into chaos. Human ships darted between asteroids, using the terrain to their advantage. They'd fire, move, fire again from a different position. The Devourers were faster and more numerous, but the humans were fighting on home ground. Coalition ships used their superior maneuverability to draw fire, shields flaring as they absorbed incoming attacks. Energy weapons focused on Devourer shield generators, weakening defenses so human kinetic strikes could punch through. An hour into the battle, Yunwoo's integrated tactical AI proved its worth. It predicted Devourer movement patterns and coordinated the fleet's response with inhuman precision. Every ship knew where to be and when to fire for maximum effect. "The Harvester is moving forward," sensors reported. "It's pushing toward the inner system. All ships, focus fire on the Harvester," Sung-ho ordered. Every weapon in the fleet turned toward the massive vessel. Railgun slugs hammered its armor. Energy weapons sliced into its hull. Nuclear missiles exploded against its shields. The Harvester kept coming, shrugging off damage that would have destroyed a dozen normal ships. "We're not stopping it," Taemin said grimly. "We need something bigger." "Sir, I have an idea." Kyung-soo's voice came through communications. "But you're not going to like it. Try me, we have a prototype weapon. Quantum torpedo, never tested. Theoretically, it could destroy the Harvester, but someone has to deliver it at point-blank range. It's a one-way trip," Sung-ho spoke up.